Okay, Paul, I'm going to take it from here. We are getting a first look this morning at a new documentary about the Chicago Comedy Club that launched the careers of some huge stars.
Lines around the block.
Lobby full of people.
I'm talking about down the block, around the corner, around the other corner, and around another corner.
Turning away 100 people a night.
This ain't gonna be like this forever, is it?
I couldn't believe I'm like a black man owns this club.
The prince of all jokes aside.
Funny Business, a black comedy, tells the story of the spectacular rise and then the fall of the South Loop Comedy Club, all jokes aside. For a decade, it was the preeminent black comic showcase in America, giving early exposure to names like Steve Harvey and Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, Jamie Foxx, Monique, Bernie Mac, many, many, many more. Joining us this morning is writer-producer Raymond Lambert, who's the former owner of All Jokes Aside, and also co-writer, producer, and the director of the documentary, former Chicago TV executive John Davies. Guys, welcome. It's nice to have you here with us.
Thank you.
So,
Thanks, Dean.
Explain this to me, because I've always wondered what happened to your club. Because I remember the early days and how literally, like that clip said, people would wait in blocks to get in, and how popular this club was. What happened exactly?
I mean, I think it was a couple of things, and we certainly touch on this in the movie, but I think there were three things happening, really. I think the area was changing. Gentrifying in the South Loop had some contribution to it. I also think that the comedy business in itself was changing. A lot of the guys who had become stars through the club system decided to go on and do concerts and stadiums and things of that nature. And then we tried to make a move to the north side of Chicago, and that didn't work out too well.
Well, why do you think that didn't happen, John? That you would think as gentrification would come in, it could only help. As some of the people you helped to expose would only help. All of these things seemed like it would only help the club.
Well, you know, it's no secret Chicago is a very segregated city, and I think some of the business owners in the area that Raymond wanted to move to, which was just north of the river there, were scared about having a black comedy club in their neighborhood. But what they didn't realize was the club had already begun to become much more than just a black club. And HBO's Def Comedy Jam had tuned America into all these superstar black comics, and I think it would have become a very mixed club finally. But I think they were frightened, they were scared, and they stalled Ray on his liquor license and eventually, unfortunately, put him out of business.
This film is so interesting and so entertaining at the same time. And one of the things that I found most interesting, Ray, is just your career path that you've taken. You didn't start off, as a young man going, I want to own a comedy club at all.
Not at all. I think when James and I had been classmates at Morehouse, and we had always wanted to own a business, and we always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So it could have been marbles. It really didn't matter to us, and it just so happened that, sort of serendipity that we met Steve Harvey and some of these other comedians, Bernie and George Wilborn, and sort of this idea of creating a business came about. So it certainly wasn't in my career path.
John, in putting this together, you with all the TV background, with the original Siskel and Ebert show and Wild Chicago and so many great Chicago projects, it must have been fun for you as a Chicagoan to find some of these clips of the people who performed there and all the luminaries who used to come and frequent the club on a regular basis.
Well, that was the big job, finding all that stuff. We put ads in the paper. We tracked down everyone that ever came to the club that might have had a video camera. We scoured newsrooms around the city and discovered. As a matter of fact, we even hit up Greg Caputo, your boss here, for a little bit of footage.
Yeah, he never gives up any footage to anybody. I know you're longtime friends with him. But there are some great clips, really nostalgic clips. It's so fun to see some of these comedians who we know now as like the superstar A-listers in their early days and see how their style has changed and how it's all...
Well, the other huge thing, too, that Ray and I wanted to get out about this was that you've got this star factory called Second City up on the north side of Chicago, and who knew that this other star factory was just, a couple of miles south, turning out, as you said, these huge guys and women.
We're going to have an opportunity for you to see Funny Business, a black comedy, Saturday, 8 o'clock at night at the Gene Siskel Film Center on State Street. John, it's got to be a little ironic for you, having worked with Gene Siskel on the original show, to now be at the film center that bears his name. You can get all the details at siskelfilmcenter.org. Guys, thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks,
Congratulations on a great film.
Thank you.
Really, really interesting. Robin, we'll throw it back over to you.
Thanks, Dean. Don't forget to cast your